Hey everybody. I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a little rundown of how I am going to do bootstrapping. And I wanted to go ahead and show you guys exactly with the data that you guys are going to use for the discussion. So you'll notice on my screen right away, you see the 74, 45, 197, 89. I've gone ahead and made that into a column. Data generally is represented in a column. So I've done that here. Now, you guys are going to have more than this. You guys are going to have 25 cases. Don't freak out on me about how many cases you have. 25, I think maybe the largest data set you guys has 100. It might be a little more dragging, but I'm going to show you guys a few shortcuts as we go, okay? Okay, so the first thing we need to do, first thing I should do is I should go ahead and find the mean. All right, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find the average. Notice I call it the mean. It's called the mean, but in Excel they call it the average, right? So there's the average. What else can we do with numerical data? We can find the standard deviation, right? You guys are always going to see me use the .s. So there we go. I use the .s. That's just for the sample standard deviation. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so that's not the big thing. The big kicker here is that I'm going to use the index function. That's the real trick to this. And we are going to index from this data. Now I'm going to freeze that data so that when I drag it along, it doesn't change. So I freeze that, I hit the F4 key, but you guys see the dollar signs there. It means when you drag along, it won't change that at all. So we're going to index from that data set, and then we are going to pick the row number from that data set. And what we're going to do here is we're going to pick the row number randomly. So I'm going to use RAND, open and close. Then I'm going to multiply the random by the length of this data set. Sorry, length is not right. By the number of rows of this data set. Sorry guys, length is a different command. Again, I'm going to freeze that data set so when I drag along it doesn't change. And then you have to add 1 because random doesn't include 0, yada yada yada. Okay, that kicks out a number, right? This number is a random selection from these original 5 numbers. Notice it's 74. So what we want is we want to pick out 5 numbers that are randomly from these original 5. And if you look here, it's done that. Notice it changed that first one. It's going to change every time you execute something on here. So that's a little annoying, but you should get used to that. The random function will just do that. I also want to go ahead and so this is my bootstrap. I want to go ahead and get my bootstrap statistic. So I'm doing the average, and I'm going to get the average of this bootstrap. All right, not too bad. Went up a little, right? I won't do the standard deviation again. Okay, now here's the power of Excel. If I've done this right, I can highlight this, and I can drag this sucker across. Now, I think I normally suggest you go about 50. Unfortunately, they're lettered, not numbered. So you guys will see me go out until I get a little tired, and I'll go, yeah, that's enough. So what I've done here is I've done multiple bootstrap samples. This is a bootstrap sample. This is a bootstrap sample. This is the bootstrap statistics. And if I take all of these together, that gives me the bootstrap distribution. So all of these together, you see how it slows down when you get to the end, give me the bootstrap statistic. So let's do statistics on the bootstrap distribution. So I'm going to get a bootstrap mean. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the average of these bootstrap averages. Now, it's a little weird to do the average of an average, but what you're going to notice is that it's very, very close to the sample average, 81, 81.5. The next thing that I'm going to compute is this thing called the standard error. Again, I hit enter and it changes to 80.6. The standard error, we're going to use it a bunch. It's very important for this. And the way we're going to compute that is with the standard deviation. So standard deviation.s. And again, I'm doing the standard deviation of the Bootstrap distribution. So I'm grabbing this thing again. Now, I think if you guys watch the other video, they might assign a name. And I will tell you, I could do some stuff like that. I didn't here because I think on the online version of Excel, you're not allowed to assign names or something. So there's lots of different versions of Excel, and I'm sorry if you have different versions. So you're going to see me use most of the basic functions. Okay, so this is the center of my Bootstrap distribution, and this is the spread of my Bootstrap distribution. By the way, since it's a distribution, I can also, let's see, I'm getting it all. I could also go ahead and insert a histogram. So there's the Bootstrap distribution histogram. It's a little, let's see if I can get it to slide here. It doesn't want to slide very fast, does it? Okay, so I'm done with that. It's a little skewed. 100 is the absolute highest you could get. The absolute lowest you could get was like 45, I think. So it's a little skewed. It's because grades can only go up to 100 something. Okay, I'm going to delete that though. You might want to have that. It's nice to include. I like histograms. I think they show you lots of good things. Okay, so one more thing I need to do is I need to do my confidence intervals. So my confidence intervals, there's going to be a couple of ways to compute the confidence intervals, but the most common one we're going to do is the 95% confidence interval. The 95% confidence interval is going to be plus or minus twice the standard error. So you're going to have an upper and lower bound. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go equals, I'm going to take the Bootstrap mean, and I'm going to subtract twice the standard error. That is going to be the lower bound for my confidence interval. If I want the upper bound, I'm going to do the Bootstrap mean, and I'm going to add twice the standard error. And that'll give me my upper and lower bound for my 95% confidence interval. So I'm 95% certain that the actual population mean from which this sample is taken should be somewhere between 65 and 99. On this assignment, I also asked you to do some other confidence intervals. So let me show you one of them. If I wanted to do the 90% confidence interval, the one thing that I have to do here is I have to compute a z-score that represents to 90. For 95, 2 is the z-score that we're going to use. It's actually 1.96, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm always using 2. Please just use 2. For this 90% confidence interval, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that norm dot inverse, and I ask for a probability here. So if I want the 90% confidence interval, I want to have 5% below and 5% above. So I want to have 0.95% below with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. Okay, so I want a 90% confidence interval, so I want each of the tails to have 5%. That's why I picked 95% here. Again, if I do this one up here, just to show you guys, norm.inverse, what I would pick for the 95% confidence interval is 0.975, because I want 2.5% in each of the tails. And it's a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. And you see that one's 1.96, like I advertised. So for this 90% confidence interval, I'm going to do the Bootstrap mean minus the z-score times the standard error. And that's my 90% lower bound. And similarly, I'm going to do my Bootstrap mean plus plus my z-score times my standard error. You guys can see I made that mistake saying twice there, right? I like to use that twice. So you can use the twice, you can use the 1.95 for 95, but if you have to do a more exotic confidence interval, you have to go ahead and pick those. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. I went about 10 minutes here. I hope this gives you guys a great start to this. Please give this a try early. It takes some getting used to. Again, the fancy formula here is the index formula. You index on the data, you freeze it, you random, you multiply by the number of rows. By the way, I could have just stuck a 5 there for the number of rows, plus 1. All right, guys, good luck. Bootstrapping is really fun. Statistics of statistics.